A huge scuffle between the Sharks and the Flyers, Manchester absolutely falling apart versus the Caledonia Gladiators, and the London Lions continue to roar. Everything comes up in this episode of the Blind Pig podcast.
First play of the game, we're going Blind Pig.
We're going to go Blind Pig.
Blind Pig, yeah.
So I'm also a big fan of the Blind Pig action.
The only reason we're running this action now is because we wanted to say Blind Pig.
Welcome back to the Blind Pig podcast. We are 2 months into the Super League basketball season. Contenders are really starting to emerge, whilst cracks are forming for other teams. Today we're going to run through all the weekend action. But before we do, as a channel, we're getting so much closer to our goal of 500 subs by the end of 2025. Let's make it happen. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, and let's get down into it. The London Lions continue to be perfect and improved to 7-0 in Super League basketball. They beat a reinvigorated Leicester Riders side 82-70. And watching the game for London, genuinely, it was like a pleasure to watch. Don't get me wrong, I really love tight games that go down to the wire and competition, but there was something beautiful about the basketball that was being played. And as even the Leicester coach, Rob Paternostro, said, that beauty came through on the defensive ends.
They got a great defense, no question about it. When you look at, the rotation that they have, continuing to bring fresh bodies in and physical on defense, and that really swallowed us up in that third quarter. That's where the game really got away from us.
You can really see the potential of this group coming together and gelling. And even when there was an obvious size mismatch with Leicester having Aaron Menzies on the floor, London played defence by committee, brought the help, and was cutting off all of those easy lanes. The defence was also really impactful on Raekwon Battle, who went 5 for 15 in the game and was a minus 23 overall. London also generated 11 steals, scoring 20 points off those turnovers. Looking at their shot chart, you can just see the amount of pressure that they're putting on the rim, including this amazing Dean Williams dunk that never looked so good in a Jumpman logo. London have 1 week off from domestic competition, and then they're back to facing Cheshire on the 16th. On the other side, this shouldn't be a deal breaker for Leicester. Losing to London is absolutely nothing to feel ashamed about, especially without Acott or Nate Martin. Leicester split their games this weekend, losing against London but winning against Cheshire 95-93 and breaking their 5-game winning streak. In their game against Cheshire, the Riders played team basketball and had double the amount of assists, 30-15. In true Cheshire form though, it was a final mad push to try and steal the game in the fourth. With 2:02, Tobias Cameron hit a pure three-pointer to respond to the shot that Battle had just hit previously down the floor. That was followed up by a Skylar White trail 3 to push the score to 92-91. And after a Spencer Johnson turnover, LaQuincy Rideau hit a go-ahead layup at 1:15 left to give the Cheshire Phoenix a lead. But it was Don Keary Jr., their most recent signing, and a player who I think has genuinely brought this group together and works really, really well with Raekwon Battle as a dynamic duo, hit an absolutely massive 3. There were multiple possessions for Cheshire to win, but messes from Brenchley, White and Rideau sealed a victory for Leicester. Both sides will match up again this coming weekend, but this time in trophy play, so watch out for that quick turnaround and what that rematch looks like. In negative news, Sheffield's luck went from bad to worse, losing Prentice Nixon to an apparent ankle injury with an MRI scheduled this week. His injury had a big impact on the Sharks losing to Manchester, but also led to the captain Rodney Glasgow Jr. having to step up in a huge way in their game against Bristol on Sunday. Against Bristol, he played 33 minutes, scored 14 points, handing out 2 assists. Not bad for a 33-year-old. Atiba chose to start Rodney Glasgow Jr. over Nick Kern Jr. And it really highlighted what Atiba is looking for in terms of controlling the flow of the offence, being disciplined on the floor, rather than the scoring and punches in bunches that Nick Kern Jr. brings. Jordan Ratinho also had a huge game, stepping up and sealing the victory with a huge big 3 and 3 throws at the end. Now, there are still several danger signs for the Sharks. This roster was already depleted, with Mervyn James being out and Rayard West putting up a picture on his Instagram showing surgery on his foot. Rayard West not playing is another guard, and again really thins out the Sheffield bench. And it already wasn't performing massively well. Against Manchester, the bench scored just 20 points, and it was even less against Bristol with just 13. In particular, William Lee for Sheffield wanted to do more and needed to do more, scoring just 3 points against Bristol. I'm still carrying a concern about this squad that if Prentice is out for an extended period of time, then it could signal changes on the horizon for the Sharks. In this game, we also had a huge scuffle between Cam Holden and Rodney Chapman III. After fighting for the loose ball, somehow Rodney Chapman ended up lifting Cam Holden off the floor. Holden responded by putting him in a little brother headlock, followed up by an absolutely beastly Muay Thai grip. Eventually the two were broken up, but that wasn't before 3 Sheffield players had left the bench to join in the fray. Both Nick Kern Jr., Rayad West and Mervyn James were all disqualified. And I was 100% getting nervous because Rodney Chapman at this point was on his 4th foul, and in my mind that was going to be his 5th and he was going to be ejected from the game. But unbelievably, after coming together for 2 or 3 minutes and lots of talk, absolutely nothing went against either Cam Holden or Rodney Chapman. Instead, just the 3 players were disqualified and Jonathan Brown went to the line and started shooting some technicals. I'm not sure it's possible to have an on-court scuffle and both the people involved have no fouls against them, no technicals against them, no warnings, absolutely nothing happens. However, it left the Sheffield crowd unhappy that Cam Holden wasn't ejected, and I'm sure the Bristol fans at home were equally as upset that Rodney Chapman didn't get thrown out of the game. Fortunately for Sheffield, their next 2 games are a little bit less demanding, playing first against Caledonia and then against Newcastle. Hopefully it'll be a chance for them to get their legs back under them, to recover from injuries, and to take on the second part of the season with real vigour. Further north, the flamethrower that is Matthew Ragsdale would not be denied against Manchester. He showed why he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, going 6 for 14 in this game. And it's not just the volume of shots as well, it's the timeliness and the clutchness of which Matthew Ragsdale is really hitting them. It felt like every time that Manchester crept near, Ragsdale plunged another dagger 3 into their nets. I also really liked in this game seeing Kevin Allen showing much of a willingness to pass and be a facilitator. He got Rhiannon Holland quite a few times on a backdoor cut for a nice easy lay-in. Huge shout out as well to Kyle Jimenez, who was off the bench, was a plus 15. And he didn't allow Caledonia to get caught into this up and down game that Manchester were trying to run. Instead, he made sure that the Gladiators got into their sets and was really an extension of Coach Bunyan out there on the floor. For Manchester, unfortunately, Zach Irvin went down with an injury in the first half, but he wouldn't have helped their main issue in their game, which was 3-point shooting. They went 4 for 25 or 16% from 3-point land, and they were 50% for their free throws, shooting just 8 for 16. The total amount they scored in this game, 62, was the least amount of points that Manchester has scored all season. And it's mega unlike Manchester from going from winning against Sheffield with 87 points to suddenly dropping off by 25 points 2 days later. Coach Otten needs to be preaching some consistency. And you'd like to see them having 1 or 2, set plays where they know where the ball is going in order to get a bucket when there are droughts. If this team can't pick up their firepower and can't make use of their weapons on the bench, then something has to give. 62 points for Manchester basketball just isn't enough. Finishing off across the league, we had some huge dunks. We have this absolutely monster Jalen Deloach, alone under the rim, 2-hand slammer jammer. And London, Dean Williams got this monster tomahawk against London. Watch out below. And for Manchester, Kyan Cleary clearly had the dunk of the weekends with a vicious 2-hand double pump jump. Great business move by Jordan Routinho though, getting out of the way of that poster. Make sure you smash the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys.